Welcome to Lantec's Video Interface Edition 22, in which we'll be hearing from Hewlett-Packard, from Compaq, Toshiba and Hayes. Victoria will be here with Multimedia Futures and Industry Update, and to close the programme, Guy Kewney will be back. He's actually flying back as we speak from Comdex in Chicago, and according to an email I received last night, he said it was boring. We'll find out if he meant it. So here's the stock frame index. If you'd like to read the times on the left-hand side, that'll tell you when the items start. Reset your VCR minutes and seconds counter now. When Hewlett-Packard launched the LaserJet 3, they did so on this programme. They came back when the LaserJet 4 made an appearance, and they're here again to show us the LaserJet 5. With us is their brand marketing manager for commercial printers, Paul Burwood. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Steve.
Paul, I suppose you better start by giving us a specification of the machine, please.
Right, okay, well this is Hewlett-Packard's new LaserJet 5. It's a 12 page per minute, 600 dot per inch laser printer, and it comes in three models. There's the basic 5, which is PC ready, there's the 5N, which is network ready, and then there's the 5M, which comes fully loaded with PostScript. It features a new front panel design, it's loaded with PCL6, has 128 grey scales which are printable, and also includes some accelerated print technologies.
Right, you said it is loaded with PCL6. What is PCL6?
Right, PCL6 is Hewlett-Packard's new printer control language version. It offers true WYSIWYG, so what you see on the screen is what you get. It has full font synthesis, so the nice thing there is that if there is not a font loaded into the printer will actually simulate that when it's dumped down from the PC.
Right.
It has grey scaling, as I've mentioned, so there's 128 scales which are actually printable with this printer. And the important thing about the code is it's actually written with an object-orientated code, so it's modular in design. That means that if we do need to change it in future as the industry changes and the requirements change, we can do that very, very quickly. Right. It returns to the application quicker, as the code actually works faster. And finally, important for Hewlett-Packard customers is the fact that it's backward compatible to our other LaserJet models.
Right. Why PCL6 at this particular point in time?
Right, okay, well what we felt was in fact that the industry needed to be moved forward. We wanted to do some new things such as WYSIWYG. We also felt that it was necessary that the industry move very quickly in terms of things like internet printing. Right. So what we've done is we have this code which will enable us, as the requirements change and as hardware developments happen, to actually release new versions very quickly. Finally, it keeps the cost down to users.
Mm-hmm. Let me just pick up on that. You say it keeps the cost down to users. Is this because PostScript isn't involved and there's no royalties? In fact,
that's correct, Steve, yes.
Right, yes, I thought I was reading that correctly. Okay, accelerated printing technologies.
Yeah.
That sounds like a buzz phrase, so I think you better explain the meat behind that as well, if you will.
Right, okay. Well, if I can first, perhaps I can tell you what that means to users. Mm-hmm. The most important thing, in fact, is that the first page will actually come off the printer quicker. It doesn't alter the page per minute, but it means that the first actual copy comes off there ready for you to pick up that much sooner. It has a 33 megahertz processor, in fact, which means that the first page can come off up to 32% faster. It has hardware grey scaling. As I mentioned, it has 128 scales of grey there. It has the font synthesis. And one of the nice things is that the compression and decompression technology in here means that the packets of data that come over the network are actually that much smaller for complex images. Right. The important thing from an MIS manager or a network manager's point of view is that it reduces the amount of traffic on the network. Right. Obviously that's a key point for most of those managers.
Yes, utilises that bandwidth that bit better, maybe retains their investment in the existing technology that little bit longer.
That's right.
Spins it out of it, yes, okay. Why the network model in particular?
Okay, what we wanted to do in fact was just offer our users something that was ready for simple Ethernet networks. So what this comes with is simplistic Jet Direct card, which only has the Ethernet termination there. What it also means is that PostScript isn't loaded, and obviously you mentioned the cost benefits of that earlier on.
Something which is, I know, included in this, or at least is an option, is the infrared interface.
Right.
Why is that considered a good, or why is this considered a good time to bring that in?
Okay, well the main reason obviously is the number of people using notebooks has increased, and most of those notebooks nowadays have the infrared port on them, which meets the IRDA standard. What we wanted to do, although this printer was primarily designed for small work groups and departmental printing, is we wanted to give people who use notebooks the option to walk up to the printer and actually print using their notebook over the infrared. Right. The nice thing here is that it is an accessory, so if people want that option, it's available, but if they don't, then again it keeps the cost of the printer down.
Right, so people that are never going to use that aren't paying for it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Bearing in mind that our audience for this video is very distinctly corporate IT decision makers. What should they be looking for in this sort of printer?
Right, okay. Well, first of all, there's the proven reliability and quality that Hewlett-Packard LaserJets offer them. Secondly, there's the support and service, which is probably second to none in the industry. They've already heard about the network traffic reduction, so the MIS and the network manager are going to be interested in that. And from a purchasing point of view, we've done some corporate bundles. So if people are purchasing something like 250 printers or more, we'll actually bundle in the larger paper tray, etc. That keeps the number of options down that purchasing actually have to place orders for.
Right. Okay, I'm sure that will be of interest. Paul, there's a couple of other things I would love to go on and talk about, but I think I'm going to have to invite you back on another occasion. I'd love to talk about colour in the office, which I know Hewlett-Packard have done a lot of research on. And also the concept of printing multiple copies rather than printing one and going and photocopying it and so on. Give us just a 30-second flavour of that.
Right, well, mopping, as we call it, is multiple original printing. And what we're asking people to think about is, rather than print one copy, walk all the way across to the photocopier, take on the frustrations of using a photocopier, producing poorer quality images and then distributing them. Why not print them then and distribute straight away? The advantage being that you get the higher quality print and also actually saves time, therefore reducing cost.
Right. I know that we at Lantec did 250 copies of a little newsletter recently, and I just printed them all out of the laser printer. So I'm interested to hear that I was doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
According to HP.
A lot of people moppy and don't even realise it.
Yes, maybe so. Paul Burwood, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Okay.
And now here's Victoria with the first of her two pieces for this edition. Here's Industry Update.
During May and June, both AST and IBM made significant price reductions on their desktop ranges. IBM also launched new ThinkPads. The 760 range now includes systems with 133 MHz Pentium processors and 12.1-inch TFT displays. There's also a new ultra-thin ThinkPad 560 with Pentium processors between 100 and 133 MHz and a choice of 11.3 dual scan or 12.1 TFT display. The entry-level ThinkPad 365 range has increased with the new 365X, which has a 100 or 120 MHz Pentium processor and a choice of TFT or dual scan screens. A new selector dot port replicator has been introduced, which features a range of ports as well as a single PCM-CIA slot. In May, Compaq announced a short-term promotion offering a free 14-inch monitor with all ProLinear and Desk Pros and a free 15-inch monitor with all Desk Pro XLs. They have also announced a new 166 and 200 MHz Pentium ProLiant 5000 high availability server. There's a new Prosignia 300 entry-level server with a 150 MHz Pentium processor, as well as version 3.0 of Smart Start and Insight Manager, and a remote server management board. Microsoft have launched SQL Server version 6.5, the latest edition of its client-server database system. Version 6.5 is a major improvement over previous versions with several new features and the capability of supporting databases of up to 100 GB. Microsoft had also announced Back Office version 2, which is to be launched shortly. This new version of Microsoft Server Suite now contains Exchange Server instead of Mail Server, SQL Server version 6.5, and the possibility of including version 4 of Windows NT Server, as well as Systems Management Server and SNA Server. Lotus are awaiting the imminent release of Notes version 4.1, the first major upgrade to their new version of this groupware package since its release. Current estimates are for a release late June or early July. Also from Lotus, a new version of CC Mail. Release 6 is due later this month. IBM have introduced a range of fast Ethernet networking products and added additional ATM products to their switched virtual networking strategy. Products announced include fast Ethernet hubs, forum-compliant ATM hubs and adapters. They have also announced additions to their range of Ethernet and token ring switches, with 16 port models now available. Hewlett-Packard have announced a new range of switching products in their advanced stack range, including workgroup segment and backbone switches, with interface for fast Ethernet and 100 VG. 3Com have announced a new token ring switch in their Link Switch family, which adds to the existing portfolio of Ethernet, Fast Ethernet, FDDI and ATM switches. Sports news. This June, the eyes of the world will be on England, host of the 1996 European Football Championships. As many of the best football players in the world battle it out on the pitch, there is one Euro 96 player the world won't see. Digital Equipment Company Limited is the Euro 96 technology team and is providing the PCs, notebooks, servers and networks that are the backbone of the computer systems running Euro 96. As official computer systems and services supplier to Euro 96, digital PCs will be vitally important throughout the tournament. For instance, the operational management system supports the organisation of the whole tournament. Due to the vast number of media, VIPs and volunteers involved in the tournament, a system was created to control accreditation and ticketing. The system consists of 6 digital Venturas 575 PCs and 1 digital Prioris Intel-based server at each of the 9 locations. These are connected using the very latest high-speed fibre optic links. The networks are resilient so that if one were to fall, another would take over immediately, ensuring that no information is lost. The information system enables the media to retrieve information on match events as they unfold. Media centres are fully equipped with Pentium-based digital Venturas 575 PCs. The results service provides broadcasters with the latest match information for transmission. Spotters sitting with match commentators during matches are equipped with digital high-note ultra notebook computers. During the match, spotters enter statistics which are then transmitted to the broadcast van. This information is fed to an alliance of host broadcasters, BBC and ITV, who provide it to broadcasters around the world.
Anyone who's seen the new Lantec corporate brochure launched in May of this year, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have spotted a new accreditation appearing in there. It says S.A.P Certified Installer. What does that mean, and why is that so important to Lantec and to organisations like Compaq? With me today to unravel some of the mystery behind S.A.P is Paul Dixon, Compaq's S.A.P manager. Welcome to Video Interface, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Why is S.A.P so important to the future of companies like Compaq?
Well, as you know, Steve, Compaq is looking at the moment to move the perception of our company from a PC company to a computer company. And by computer company, we mean a company that can provide computing power for almost any need of a corporation. S.A.P is the leading application in the integrated enterprise type applications. And so it really, being a strong player in the S.A.P market, really endorses Compaq as a player in enterprise business.
Let's just clarify to a lot of people who may not know what S.A.P is. When we say integrated application, what do we actually mean, Paul?
Well, S.A.P essentially have the software that can run a major corporation and run many aspects of the business. It has a wide number of modules that address various parts of the business. S.A.P came from a mainframe application and were one of the most successful of companies to move from the mainframe to the client-server arena.
How did the Compaq S.A.P relationship come about? Because I believe you were there in the very early days.
Right. As I understand it, S.A.P quite early on saw the success that Windows NT was going to have and saw that they would really need to be running on that platform. And of course they went to see Microsoft. Microsoft were very enthusiastic and were very keen to help, and Microsoft suggested that S.A.P should talk to Compaq, as Compaq was putting a lot of focus in the NT area and was basically the leading player. So Compaq became the first NT partner. In fact, the ProLiant was the first hardware to be certified to run S.A.P in the NT arena.
Compaq obviously have developed and enhanced their technology offerings with multiple processing, massive memory capabilities within the new servers. However, what is going to support those systems behind that within Compaq?
Yes, customers who look to put S.A.P on a PC platform find the features that are available on fault tolerance very, very important, but are also looking at what type of support organization is in place to support them. To that end, Compaq has a support center, the SAP Competence Center in Walldorf, in SAP's headquarters. That's 6 or 7 engineers who are located in SAP's Level 2 hotline area. Any issues that are escalated out of the field through SAP's support organization would end up at Level 2 in Walldorf, and our engineers would be brought into play if it's on Compaq hardware. We also have a second group of people in Munich, which is Compaq's European headquarters, and they are focused on other aspects of support, such as benchmarking, performance tuning, and sizing, which is a very important aspect of the SAP business, and they in fact produce the sizing tools that we use in the UK today.
Yeah, I think it's worth stating the point that a typical SAP server is a very complex animal, isn't it, Paul?
Yes, it is, and a lot of trouble it has to be taken to make sure that that server is designed for the customer's needs. With a lot of attention paid to the correct amount of sizing of memory, hard disk, subsystem, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, typically you could be running something like half a gigabyte of memory in the machine. So obviously getting the sizing right, understanding how much disk space you're liable to require and how you're going to back it up is all very important.
Yes, indeed. In fact, with the change recently from release 2.2 to 3, we found that a lot of those things have changed, and there's higher requirements on resources in a system. So it's very important to understand how to size a system and get it right.
Sure. So basically, Compaq have the hardware technology developments in place. They have the support center and the competence center in Germany. In addition to that, obviously, particularly for our UK clients, we would require, if you like, some strength and depth on the implementation and support arena in the UK. What's been happening there, Paul?
Well, in fact, Compaq is really bringing quite a different approach to the supporting of the SAP world. Up until now, the players in the SAP world have tended to be the typical mid-range companies who have large resources in-house, and basically they not only tend to be providing hardware, but also are looking to provide the consulting and the support and so on. Compaq is the only company who is looking to partner with resellers to provide SAP support and installation, etc. We believe that SAP now is becoming, SAP is gaining market share, and there's a large number of customers looking for systems, and that the most cost-effective way to deliver those systems, install them and support them, is in partnership with resellers.
And how is that progressing, Paul?
Well, as you know, Steve, last year we began talking to resellers, and basically that was the resellers who showed interest and were keen to talk to Compaq and find out about the SAP business. We ran a seminar in Munich, which you yourself attended, and that lasted for 2 days, where we ran through all the aspects of SAP business. And we also had present some of the logo partners. That's the consulting companies who consult around SAP. At the end of that, a small number of resellers decided to take the plunge and get some people trained and start to get in business.
Yeah, I remember it well. Lantec obviously participated in that, and we have gone through the tremendous process of training up some of our key resources to enable us to build the platform. I think it's also worth differentiating that the logo partner consults more in a business process re-engineering capacity, with the platform builders such as Lantec effectively taking the network infrastructure to a level to support SAP. I believe also that Compaq are implementing SAP in-house as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, like many of these projects, it's a fairly long project, because it's not just really the implementation of SAP, it's the re-engineering of the whole company. And Compaq started this, seems like a couple of years ago now. It was definitely a long time ago. And we are now well into the project. There are certain parts of the world that are now running under SAP. And the UK office, I believe, will come onto SAP either late 96 or early 97. But sometime around mid 97, I think we will have the whole company running under SAP. And what our goal is to improve our performance across the board. We're looking for to be able to respond to orders within a few days, so that our factories can much more flexibly produce the products that are being ordered.
Sure. I think it's worth emphasising. I mean, what is the prime driver for organisations to move to SAP on a PC platform? Is it cost effectiveness? Is it because the software is so good? Explain that.
I suppose one aspect is the success of SAP. Obviously, they're very successful because they have very good software, and perhaps we can take that as a given. The reason why companies are choosing PC platforms, in our experience, is most often because companies are looking to try and reduce the number of platforms that they have. A large corporation today could have a mainframe or a number of mainframes, mini computers, workstations, PC servers and desktops, and all of these different platforms require them to have quite a lot of different skills in-house. When you take the major application that's going to run the company and realize that it can run on the same hardware that you're using for file servers, and obviously can make use of the corporate network, you find that this represents a reduction in the number of skills and the amount of resources they have to support. Being based on Windows, typically most corporations have Windows skills somewhere, so it doesn't involve employing large numbers of very expensive Unix engineers, etc.
So you can really concentrate all your resources into the PC platform and effectively deliver all the business applications and all the desktop applications that we know and love on a single medium.
Yes. And we're finding that once corporations realize that they can run the whole company on PC servers, they sort of looked at all the other things they're doing that are not on PC servers and wonder why they're not running those on in PC architecture.
Excellent. Lantec have obviously made a tremendous investment jointly with Compaq to develop our skills and resources to enable us to build platforms to the business critical level. If you'd like to know more about that capability or Compaq's capability, please contact either myself or Paul or your account manager. Paul Dixon, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It seems that hardly a week goes past without a new announcement of something from Toshiba. With us back again is Murray McCurley. Welcome, Murray.
Hello.
Murray, before you tell us about these machines, I'm going to take you to task on this a little bit because, frankly, aren't we confusing people with the number of new models that Toshiba announce in very short time frames? What's the strategy behind this?
Okay, well, believe it or not, there is a strategy. It's not perhaps as piecemeal as it might at first appear. We've firmly established the #1 position in the notebook market, and we want to stay there. And our strategy is that to stay there, we have to stay ahead of our competitors, who are, of course, investing in technology all the time. So we have to continue to invest, and that drives a very fast product life cycle in notebooks. But it's not as confusing as it first appears. There's 4 basic segments to the Toshiba notebook range: Satellite, Satellite Pro, Protégé, and Tecra. And any customer is likely to buy into any one of those or a couple of those product segments. And in each segment, all we're going to do is continue to pour faster processors, larger screens, larger capacity hard disks, bigger battery capacities, more memory, etc., into that product range. So it's not really as confusing as it first appears.
Right. Is it that you really try and hit a price point and you keep on upgrading as components become cheaper to keep within that sort of price segment and yet build the capability of the machines?
Bang on, absolutely bang on. For example, taking our Satellite Pro product range, we know that there's a large group of customers out there who want mobile computers, but they want they can only afford to pay a kind of a fixed price. So what we're trying to do is keep a product in that price range, but each time we have an opportunity to put new technology in there, we'll take it, so that that customer who's buying in that price range has access to the very best that's available.
Right. So we can expect to continue really to see new products from Toshiba every, what, 3 months or
Oh, the pace is getting faster all the time. Yes, I mean we're announcing 9 products in June.
9?
9 in one go. Yes, in June, and there's plenty more to come this year, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Are we close enough to those announcements for you to give us a rundown of what's going to be in those June releases?
Yeah, sure. As I said, there's 9 products. There's 2 in our satellite product range, which is our value notebook segment. 2 in our Satellite Pro, 3 in our Satellite Pro product range, which is our value segment, but perhaps multimedia enhanced features in there. There's 2 in our Protégé segment, which is our smaller than A4, specifically for those customers who want the smallest, lightest, easiest to carry around notebook they can get their hands on with full power. And there's 2 in our Tekra product range segment, which is all about, I really need the best performance that's available, please.
Right.
So there's a raft for everybody. I'll run through them quickly if I can, if we have time. In the satellite product range, the 2 products we're introducing are both based on Pentium 100. They've got 11.3-inch screens, which isn't quite as big as the screen we see in this machine here, screen. But it's not far off it. Both of them have Super VGA resolution. One is STM based and one is TFT based. Right. They both have 8 megabytes of RAM, and they both have exactly the same memory and connectivity options as the current satellite products. There's a very clear common thread running through the product range.
Right.
In the Satellite Pro segment, we're introducing 3 products, 1 which is an STN screen and 2 TFT based ones. The only difference between the TFT machines is hard disk size. One will be based on an 810 million byte drive, and one is a 1.35 gigabyte drive. So the 1.3 is for the real people who want lots of storage. It's the biggest drive available at the moment. Yeah. But again, they have the 11.3-inch screen. They're based on Pentium 100. They both have 6 times speed CD-ROM drives. They both have a lovely quality sound system. And again, they both share the same memory and connectivity options as current Satellite Pro and Satellite products, so that this common thread is running through there. Gotcha. So I don't want our customers to be confused. In the Tekra product segment, we've only recently, in the middle of May, announced 2 products here, Tekra 710 and 720, which are our absolute top-of-the-range performance blockbuster machines, with something like 7 or 8 industry firsts incorporated on those machines, so we're quite proud of those. Sure. But here we are in June, and several of those new technologies are already finding their way onto other machines in the range, and this is what I've brought along for us to look at today. Right. This series of products will be called Tekra 500, and there will be subsequent iterations of that, so there'll be a 510, a 520 later on in life. But being a Tekra product, it's all about the best performance that's available, so they're based on nice fast processors, Pentium 120 in this case. They have the largest screens that are commercially available, 12.1 inch. They have 16 megabytes of RAM, so they're pretty powerful. Indeed. They have a 6 times speed CD-ROM drive in here, a large capacity battery, stereo speakers, PCI expansion capability. So there's lots and lots in there for people who really are, people who demand the best in performance or multimedia or connectivity. There's something in this product for them. And very quickly, these technologies will find their way down into other products through the range.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, yes, and if this is, if what you were saying earlier is true, then in a year from now or something, we're going to see this sort of technology sort of sliding downhill into the Satellite Pro and the satellites and so forth. In which case, what's the Tekra going to be doing by that time?
Oh, the Tekra by that time be a pretty scary monster. And by the way, if it takes a year for today's technology to go through our range, then we haven't succeeded in our objective.
Really?
It'll be quicker than that. It will be quicker than that.
Gosh.
But to give you some idea of the technology that may be coming up, even just in 1996, that's probably going to find its way into our Tekra product range. If I split it down into 6 perhaps of the key areas, I mean, our idea is that to get the best that notebook technology has to offer, you have to stay on top of 6 key technology areas. Those are processors, fairly obviously, memory technology, screen technology, mass storage technology, battery technology, and expansion and communications technology. So if I just run through each of those very, very briefly to give you some idea of what will be finding its way onto notebooks in 1996. For processors, we're looking forward to a processor from Intel called Klamath, which is basically...
That's a new one on me, yes.
Klamath. I think Klamath is a code name. Intel's new code name strategy is based on rivers in the mountains in America. So there's Klamath and Dish.
I'm learning here. This is good news. Yeah.
Hopefully we're all learning. Yeah. But the Klamath processor incorporates Intel's multimedia extension instruction set in the main processor, so there'll be no need for other chips on the motherboard to enable the multimedia functionality that you would expect in a Tekra product. And that's a real good idea for us, because motherboards and notebooks are perhaps only the size of a packet of 20 cigarettes.
Right.
So any space saved on there by putting it all onto one chip is good news for us. It saves weight, saves space, enables us to use that valuable space for something else. So that's like the best we'll do in processors this year. In screens, on our product roadmap, we have an idea of a 13.3-inch diagonal TFT panel on notebooks, which will literally fill the entire lid of an
I was
A4
going to say
notebook.
it's going to come outside of the A4 sort of basic shape of the notebook before long. It's got to stop there pretty much.
That's exactly right, yeah. 13.3 inches is the maximum for an A4 notebook. But there is a debate raging right now about whether there's room in notebook or mobile computing technology to have slightly larger footprint machines. Now, you know, there's obviously two clear schools of thought there. One is that the A4 footprint is so well established that customers won't want to adopt anything bigger. And the other school of thought is obviously, well, the larger the screen I can have, the better. But obviously there's a limit to that as well, because people still want to carry these things around in a briefcase or in some, well, obviously portable format. So I don't think they'll get too much bigger than A4. But 13.3 for the moment is as big as you get in the notebooks as we know them today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So is it stopping at screen technology? We've talked about processors and screens, batteries, hard drives, memory size.
Yeah, there's plenty more to come.
All going up.
Yep. Oh yes. In terms of battery technology, there's a new discrete technology coming along called lithium polymer batteries. Now the idea of lithium polymer is, instead of having a battery delivered as a solid lump, lithium polymer batteries can be delivered in flexible sheets. And our idea there is to mould that into the casing of the notebook, so that so that in this space constrained environment, you no longer have to have a large compartment into which you keep the battery. You can use that space for other functions, because the battery will be the casing, or the casing will be the battery, whichever way you want to look at it. So that's coming down the line. There's some problems with that at the moment, but that is one for the future, definitely. In terms of storage technology on notebooks, there's plenty more to come as well. I mean, at the moment we're all getting quite excited about the idea of 1.35 gigabyte hard disks in our notebooks, but there's another new storage technology on the horizon called DVD, or digital video disc technology, which
We've
you
been
may have heard
talking
of.
about that actually quite a lot in this programme over the last few months, yes.
Okay, well you obviously know the potential for DVD to have up to 18 gigabytes of storage on a single 5 1/4 inch disc, the same size as the CD-ROM today.
Yeah.
So those will find their way onto notebooks before very long.
Right.
And there's also potential within the DVD standard for read-writable discs, not write once, read many, but read and write as often as you like.
Right.
So potentially DVD could completely replace the hard disk.
Murray, as always when you come here, you've astounded us. I'm very impressed. I want one, in fact.
So do I.
There's one thing, Murray, I must ask you, because our viewers will be driving themselves mad. What happened with the plaster on the sides of the face there?
Yes, well, I can't say too much, Steve. I think the police are still hunting, but you should see the other guy.
Fine, well that's obviously all we're going to learn on the subject. Murray McCauley, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And now here is Victoria for the second time with Multimedia Futures.
Hello again. Barclays Bank are apparently talking with British Sky Broadcasting and BT about forming a consortium to boost digital television in Britain. Participation from leading institutions should promote interactive services such as home shopping and banking. Digital TV via satellite is due to be launched in Britain towards the end of next year, but the industry believes viewers will be reluctant to switch to it if they have to pay the full £400 to £500 cost of a set-top decoder. It is believed the consortium aims to provide subsidies which would more than halve the cost to the consumer. Apple Computer said it is restructuring its organisation to embrace the internet with a new division called AppleNet. It is realigning the Macintosh, Pippin and Newton platforms to make them better suited for internet access. Intel have come out with a new video phone version of their ProShare video conferencing software that does not require an ISDN line. In fact, any ordinary old copper phone wire will do, but it does require a 133 MHz Pentium. Compaq are at one with Intel on the need to seduce users with ever faster machines, and said that they will be bundling the new version of ProShare in most Presario models from the autumn. Cameras needed to transmit the picture will be sold as an accessory for less than $200, say Compaq. There are a lot of internet-related news items around at the moment. Firstly, a group of over 40 industry heavyweights have collected behind Netscape to standardise access to Internet directory listings. AT&T, Banyan, IBM, Lotus, Novell and more than 40 others have joined with Netscape to support the Lightweight Directory Access Protocol as a proposed open standard for directory services on the Internet. Based on technology pioneered at the University of Michigan, it allows corporate information such as users' names, electronic mail addresses, public key certificates and contact information to be organised and published in a searchable, structured, scalable directory. In case you were in any doubt, Netscape's Navigator continues to command the high ground of the browser market with an 84% share, say DataQuest. However, Microsoft expect their user base to soar when agreements with AOL and CompuServe kick in at midsummer, making its Explorer browser the default option for what it claims will be as many as 10 million users. DataQuest reveals that only 7% of users prefer Microsoft's browser currently, but Microsoft expects Netscape users will have an added reason to switch to Explorer now that Netscape is charging for new versions of Navigator. HTML version 3.2 is now out and is designed to add widely deployed features such as tables, applets and text flow around images, while still providing backwards compatibility with HTML2. The Web Consortium is continuing work on extension to the markup language for multimedia objects. Scripting, style sheets, layouts, forms and maths, all of which will appear in later versions. Information on the Web Consortium and current and future HTML enhancements can be found at worldwideweb.w3.org. The Bigfoot Directory Incorporated, based in New York, has launched its online directory of email addresses, phone and fax numbers at bigfoot.com. The service is free of charge and users can also register to have their own contact details listed in the directory. And finally, a couple of interesting items. A wanted fugitive was captured in Guatemala City after an internet user recognised his picture from the FBI homepage. Escaped bank robber Leslie Rogue surrendered last week at the US Embassy and was transferred to Miami, where he was sentenced. An unidentified surfer in Guatemala saw Rogue's photograph on the website and notified authorities that he was living in the country. FBI officials in Miami told Reuters it was the first time their homepage on World Wide Web had led to the surrender of a top 10 fugitive. And lastly, what worries Daily Telegraph writer Michael Bywater is that the web will suffer something he terms the Torremolinos effect. This, he says, is when a place passes the threshold of popularity, so that it becomes so crowded that there's no longer any point in going there. And that's APT's Multimedia Futures for June 1996.
Multimedia Futures is available via the internet. Email info@apt.globalnews.com. Please mention video interface in your inquiry.
Hays, as an organisation, had a very interesting 1995. However, they've emerged from the horrors of Chapter 11 very strongly and successfully. With me today to tell me a bit about where Hays are going is their General Manager for Europe, Jeremy Butt. Welcome to Video Interface, Jeremy.
Thank you, Steve. Interesting time in 1995. I think it's quite charitably, actually. It was pretty hard work, very challenging, actually. We really spent the whole of 95 reorganising ourselves financially, operationally, getting a lot of things really straightened out. We did emerge from Chapter 11 finally at the beginning of 96, financially strong. We've got a board of directors in now for the first time in the company's history, which I think is a very good thing. We're very focused on, I think, our core technologies and core markets, and we've kind of really pushed to one side some of the peripheral activities which were really making no sense whatsoever. I think personally, I think it was actually a very, very interesting time in a way. The learning curve was incredible, living through a Chapter 11 experience. I'm glad I've done it. I certainly don't want to do it again unless it's on a consultancy basis anyway.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
anyway,
you.
Jeremy. What's new and exciting in the modem marketplace today, Jeremy?
I think the whole market is very exciting, both in terms of not just the technology, but actually the uses of technology as well. So the technology is terrific, it's accelerating very fast, which is exciting, but the way in which it's being used, this is also, I think, driving the market very hard.
Yeah. If you could tier the market, what's happening, say, in mobile computing, in that sort of arena?
That's a very fast-growing area. Our sales of PCMCIA, or PC card as it's more commonly being known now, that's definitely seen a lot of acceleration over the last 12 months. With, I think, notebook sales obviously going up an awful lot, and people need mobile connectivity. And next month we actually launch a GSM solution for PCMCIA. So on one product you have a 28.8 modem and GSM connectivity, so you can connect your GSM handset into your laptop, and you really have got true mobile connectivity at that point. And of course GSM is great because it works virtually everywhere around Europe. It's got a few gaps on the M25, a big gap on the M3 round Bracknell, but basically it's in pretty good shape.
Good, good. How has the internet and the growth of the internet access affected your particular industry?
I think the internet is kind of driving the market from two different places. From the consumer end, there's a lot of consumers buying our consumer class Acura product to get onto the internet, to surf the internet or whatever. Albeit, funnily enough, the most popular thing that people do when they get connected is email before surfing the net. So it's being driven very hard from the consumers that want to get on the net, as it were. And then from the corporate end, there's certainly a lot of corporates are actually using the net now themselves for research or whatever. But I think the numbers now, it's about 63% of corporates, they're actually offering their products or services or whatever actually on their own web pages. So it's kind of been driven from the top as well. So very fast moving from both areas.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if I understand you correctly, the Acura, which is the consumer-orientated offering from Hayes, is actually being bought as much by corporates as by consumers.
It's certainly being bought in large quantities by consumers, but the Acura is now beginning to be bought by the corporates. I mean, traditionally the Optimus sells, which is our business class product, with a lot of sort of remote configuration, dial-back security, a lot of business features, has traditionally gone into the corporate marketplace. But we're seeing some of our consumer class products being sold now quite heavily into the corporate marketplace as well, because not everyone needs all the functionality of a business product. They still need the reliability, but they may not need all the functionality of it. So yeah, the consumer class products are now moving quite well in corporates.
That's interesting. Well, what's happening in the corporate end of the modem market?
Well, the corporate end, I think it's becoming necessary to provide a more complete modem solution now. So it's not enough just to have an external device with all these bells and whistles on it. You do need to have a PC card product with GSM connectivity. Another thing that we're working on and pretty close to now is a rack-mounted product, which is 16 modems in a rack. It really gives you a more complete product offering when you can have the central site, the remote sites, either external or as PC cards.
Sure. And is that pretty much a modular design? Can you buy one and then build your rack from there?
Yeah, it actually is. It's even more modular than that. It's got 16 cards in it, but it comes out of the box in one piece and into the rack. We've really tried to reduce the amount of plugging and playing to actually get the thing going, as it were.
Good. Excellent. A lot of exciting offerings there. Where can we view these offerings?
Well, this is a pretty opportune time for you to ask, actually, because of course next month is Networks 96 in Birmingham, and it runs from the 25th to the 27th of June, and we're in Hall 11, stand R62, so I'm glad you asked, thank you.
Okay. Jeremy Butt, thanks very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, Guy Kewney has made it back. I think you're a little jet-lagged from what I gather, Guy, but...
Not at all, Sandra. Who said that?
Guy, you emailed me last night, said it was a pretty boring exhibition. Was it really that bad?
There's nothing quite as dismal, is there, as an industry which has sort of reached the end of its big growth period and started becoming established, while other things are taking off and new and exciting. And I think that's basically the problem. I think it goes a bit further than that. I think Comdex is suffering this year from the fact that it's not PC Expo and everything's happening at PC Expo. There are possibly simple reasons for that. Comdex was in Atlanta, then it was in Chicago, then it was in Atlanta again, then it was always going to be in Atlanta, then it was in Chicago again, then it was always going to be in Atlanta again. And now they've joined up with the CES, they're going to start a new show next year in Atlanta. But obviously they couldn't be there this year, you can't blame them for that. There's a thing called the Olympic something's on.
Yes.
So it's probably a good idea to settle in one place or the other, but unfortunately they're going to settle in Chicago the year after that, forever. It's going to be a joint thing. They're going to try and make it a consumer electronics show because CES in the early spring has not been a success, the winter show. It's declining. Again, a market which has, I think, become too stable to need all the razzmatazz of a show of that sort. We'll see. I think they can come back, but they do have to be far more internet-based than they are. At the moment, it's Windows-based.
Right.
And even
Okay.
with that, they were pretty internet-based, which is mostly what I mean. Now, I don't want to give the impression I didn't find any interesting stuff there. It's just that I thought this was going to be the big, important show. And I get the distinct impression that I should have taken this week in the office and spent 2 weeks later going to PC Expo.
Right, okay. You have a new toy, I see. Did you
How
get that
dare you
over there?
call this a toy? This is this is the most important new development. This has been described as a PDA. It's the Pilot. It's a company that US Robotics bought, and what makes it interesting to me is the fact that it is a complete diary, a complete address book, a complete notebook, a complete to-do list, all in my pocket. And when I say in my pocket, I mean that it is small enough and light enough that I will actually put it in my pocket and leave it there. It's not so big that at some stage I think, goodness me, I look strange with these bulges in my pockets, I better put it out. Were I at a party, I would have it. And if I met somebody interesting at the end of the party and they said, here's my phone number, or at my advanced stage, here's my URL, I would be able to write it down on what would appear to them to be a piece of paper. And the benchmark for these things is not what everybody thinks, how good the handwriting recognition. Those things have all got to be right. What matters is, did you have it with you at the time?
Right.
And that's all weight and lightness. It's not without flaws. At $300 in the States, I think it'll probably be some time before it comes down much below that. It's a little unrugged. I've spoken to people who've been testing it, and they say you dare not drop it from more than about 2 inches off the table. So you do have to look after it. They give you advice not to sit on it, don't put it in a back pocket, all of which you would probably do anyway with a $300 product. But it's very nice, extremely simple, and of course it's a backup of everything I've written. If I'd written it on paper, I'd have to retype it into the computer. On this, I just drop it into a little cradle and it's in. So I think it's quite a breakthrough in the market.
Right, and the whole thing is handwriting recognition
It's
based,
not
is it?
handwriting, although it has a little pointer, and I do write with it. It doesn't recognize handwriting. It has the graffiti alphabet, which is based on uppercase letters mostly. But because it's an artificial alphabet, I mean, you'd recognize all the letters to look at.
Right.
Very few of them are strange. But you can get 100% recognition quite well. And I'm hitting, it took me about 10 minutes to learn the alphabet, and within an hour I was writing at about 30 words a minute.
Really?
So it's pretty useful. It's not a keyboard. If you want a keyboard, go and get your computer.
Right, okay.
So that was nice. Nothing to do with the internet.
No, indeed. But you did want to have words about the internet, having been to Comdex, I know.
It was quite interesting. We had 3 keynote speeches. First day was by Jim Clark from Netscape. Second day was Paul Maritz from Microsoft, and the third day was Sun Microsystems, McNeely. Now, the interesting thing was that Netscape, as you know, owns the internet browser market. It's well over 90% of everybody has one. Microsoft is desperately becoming aware of the fact that Internet Explorer is a minority interest, and it's doing its best in a way that reminds me very strongly of the way IBM suddenly caught on to the fact that OS/2 had been left behind by Windows. Microsoft, in the same way, is pedaling the bicycle as hard as it can. It's not yet clear that the bicycle is in gear, and I do hear the chain slipping around a bit. For example, I went into a store and I found Internet Explorer on sale for $10, with, in the box, a $10 mail back thing. You send us this form, we'll send you your $10 back. Now that tells me that somebody is giving the store $10 and
to sell a $10 product?
To sell a nothing product, because obviously they're giving it away.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to put that in all the stores in America, you're subsidizing your sales a lot, which reminds me very strongly of the way OS/2 tried to subsidize. Will it work? Well, IBM made the mistake of producing something that was almost onto the standard, but not quite. And I think Microsoft has yet to learn that lesson with Internet Explorer. They're still producing a product which they say is standards-based. Now, HTML came out with a 3.2 standard just a few weeks back. Yes. I saw this really interesting presentation by Paul Maritz where he described all the features of HTML 3.2 and a few of the features in Internet Explorer and said, so we're going with the standard, and then proceeded, without drawing breath, to continue to talk about font tags. Now, there are no font tags in HTML. There are 2. What he was putting in was TrueType. Now, I want TrueType in HTML. But for him to say we've got TrueType and we're HTML 3.2 are 2 statements which don't actually reconcile with each other. So once again, he's producing features which may be good, but which aren't usable by most people logging onto most sites. He may win the battle because they're selling a lot of NT machines as servers. but they're not selling them to the big users. It's a large volume, but it's not yet big. But, you know, Microsoft should not be regarded as likely to come second forever. So I think that watch that one with care.
Okay. Is there a little story about the shirt and the footprint?
It is a footprint, isn't it? Yes. It's another internet story.
Right.
The internet wasn't the story of the show. For me, the story of the show was a thing called Live Picture, and I hope to be able to tell you more about that next time, so remind me.
Right.
But it is, in essence, it is the most amazing graphics thing, and I'm now going to throw my Photoshop away. Bigfoot is internet. Bigfoot is what you should log on to right away when you finish this. Get to your browser, log on to bigfoot.com, and enter your email address, after which you will be listed. Then anybody in the world can look you up on Bigfoot. It's going to be one of the Yahoo email address listings, one of the 5 things they have for tracing people. And it means at last you can actually find out what happened to Jim so-and-so, or Dave so-and-so, or Sandra so-and-so. What did happen to Sandra? Wasn't she meant to do this show with you?
I'm sure she probably was. Guys, thanks for coming back. At short notice, you actually flew back early so you could do the programme.
I did.
Thank you for that.
It's my pillow anyway.
You can get to it in about 30 seconds. And that indeed is Video Interface Edition 22. We hope that you've enjoyed it. It's been a fairly packed programme. We'll see you again in August. Until then, bye for now.